So in general, tension around the Ukrainian new tax code and the tax reform, what is the deadline and how does you plan to fight this political pressure which is there?
There's no deadline in particular for tax reform. What we have done is already incorporated the most critical issues from my perspective, or most of the critical issues, in the adoption of the budget last year. So we were able to reduce the social payroll tax from 41 to 22. That's a very big part of de-shadowization in my mind. Number two, we were able to reduce the royalties for gas extraction and encourage domestic investment in domestic gas development. Number three, we were able to eliminate advanced corporate tax payments, which has been a very difficult thing for Ukrainian businesses, and increase excise duties, which was necessary. They hadn't been increased in line with inflation even, let alone with our European Union requirements, and so on and so on. So there was a whole long series of things that we've already done. And in my mind right now, and I think most Ukrainian business would agree, most Ukrainian population would agree, the key issue is the tax administration. So our focus needs to be on reforming the tax administration and customs administration, and that can be done without additional, for the most part, without additional legislation. It just needs to be done step by step, stage by stage. We need to reform the large taxpayer office. We need to change people. In essence, we need to do the same thing we did with the national police. We need to raise the bar. We need to establish different values. We need to establish a different scope of their work, and then we need to hire people, open it to everyone, but hire people who can meet those values and that scope of work, and start refreshing step by step. We've already shrunken the tax service by 30%, about 17,000 people last year. We've already put a proposal to the European Union and our other partners to help us bring in more technology into the state fiscal service, because the more technology we have, the fewer people we have, the fewer human contact, the more automatic contact, the less room there is, again, less space for corruption. So all those things are underway. We're also working to, in the next shortest time, issue a tender for part of the customs to be outsourced and be managed, a part of it, by some Western international firm that can bring, again, expertise and bring a high level of standards by which we can then transform all of customs. So there's a lot in motion, but I think that's really critical, and that's the most critical thing in quote-unquote tax reform. It's not about a piece of paper, it's about real change.
So, and General, you're often representing Ukraine, and there are still a lot of the corruption scandals regarding the Ukrainian, not just exactly the government, but the political establishment. So what are your answers to the investors on that when they are asking?
Well, I think it's very sad that we still have these corruption scandals. We'd all like them to be put behind us, but I think my answer is to focus on what we have done to eliminate corruption, both, again, in the tax code, but not only in the tax code, what we've done to eliminate the space for corruption. That's the transparency, that's putting Treasury online, it's putting data registers online, it's doing e-procurement. And then third, what we're doing to prosecute, and what institutions have been established, which of them are actually functioning, not established on paper, but fully financed at Western levels, already having hired 70, 80 detectives, already prosecuting cases. In the end, really critical for Ukraine to have serious long-term reform is going to be judicial system. Without seriously independent, fair, and free courts, you never can get to the end of this. So you need to have the carrot, which is policy change, but you need the stick, which is fear that you'll go to jail if you break the law. Any rule of law society understands that. So I ask investors to be patient, but to look at what's actually happening, and to see that those improvements are greater in the last 14, 18 months than they've been in the last 23 years. And on that basis, I ask them to believe in Ukraine, and the opportunities in Ukraine, I think, are much greater than the risks.
And the final on the IMF loan, the next loan, when we can expect it?
We had a very good and successful meeting with the IMF Managing Director and our President yesterday. We're working out the final details in the text of the memorandum, which is necessary for the second review. And I believe that second review could be within the next few weeks. Hopefully, it hasn't been scheduled yet, but hopefully we'll be able to see the next tranche by the end of February.